Hello and welcome back to another video. So if you're new here, I'm currently in the beginning stages of engine swapping this C200. With what engine, you might ask? Well, I do have a very unhealthy addiction to any inline 6-cylinder engine. This is my 3.2 litre M104 turbo swapped W203 that I built in my garage. And even though I do keep blowing this thing up, when it works, it's bloody mind-blowing. So I finally made up my mind and pulled the 4-litre inline 6-cylinder out of the off-road AU Falcon and already got started making it fit into this W203 shell. So in the previous video I had to modify the oil pan a bit, and in today's video I want to get some engine mounts knocked out and this engine will officially sit in its new home. Step 1 took me most of yesterday to figure out, and that is getting the engine in exactly the right spot. Now there is like a 2 or 3 degree room for error, but ideally we want a straight line from the crank bolt straight through to the differential at the back. If that makes any sense, basically we want the engine straight like this, we want it straight like this, and then when you look at it from the side, we want it level like this. Let's start off with the gearbox mount. So luckily for me, there's some massive adjustability on the stock gearbox mount. So let's go down there and I'll show you. So looking under the car, this is the stock gearbox mount, and then when you look over here, we have a bunch of holes that's already threaded. Basically you can move this forwards and backwards to fit your needs. It's like they knew someone will someday want to put a Ford engine in a W203. However, I did end up drilling some extra holes into the gearbox mount to get the engine in exactly the right spot and where I want it. Yes, that 10mm was needed, and we also needed to finesse the gearbox tunnel a little bit. After I got that sorted, next up was removing the old engine mounts because we will be fabricating our own engine mounts from scratch. So I made 4 3mm plates that bolts up to the engine, 2 on each side, and I'll be welding those together to make them as strong as possible. Then I also cut 2 round aluminium spacers with 2 3mm plates on top of that. Those 2 aluminium spacers will just act as an adjustment if after building the mounts for some reason the engine needs to go down a little bit. Just have the engine resting on a piece of wood to get the spacing right, but currently when I close the hood, now I'm hoping after building the engine mounts, the weight of the engine will make it go down just a little bit, but if I need to, I can take out those aluminium spacers and we'll have some extra adjustability. The only thing left to do is going to be to connect that plate up with that plate. So for that, I'll be using some 10mm thick flat iron. Already got a rough shape cut out of some cardboard. Now to transfer that to the flat iron. Now that is a piece of freaking steel. Jeez, this stuff takes forever to cut and shape. But anyway, so that's gonna sit something like this. I do need to grind it up a little bit over there, close up the gaps and get it perfect, and then I'll tack weld those onto the car, and then we can remove the whole mount and add some supports and beef it up. We do not want this engine falling out at like 300 miles per hour. after I made sure all the holes still line up after tack welding the triangle support pieces onto the new engine mounts, it was time to get everything fully welded up. I didn't really plan on the engine mounts looking like this, but hey, I think they look pretty cool. All the angles and everything came out freaking great. The looks aren't that important. The most important thing is that they will do the job. But let me get some paint onto them so that they don't rust, and then we'll throw them back onto the engine and see if we are at the level we want to be with that engine. Perfect. I just get the biggest smile on my face every time I remove the stands from underneath the car, and I remember how freaking good this thing is starting to look. Well, that is if you look past the faded paint job. But hey, the engine is in there and we have clearance. Move this thing back into the shade. Whoa. So I got this piece of wood out from under the engine, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but between the steering rack and the oil pan, there we go, we have about 10 to 15 millimeters of clearance. Between the hood and the valve cover, there's about, let's say, 5 millimeters, like it's really close. Another thing is a quick test to see if those engine mounts are strong enough. That'll work. Don't you just love it when things work out? But speaking of which, let's see if this fits. I don't know. I mean, that might work. I don't know. I've kind of been thinking if it doesn't fit, I can build a cool new intake manifold. But I guess if that one can work, that'll save some time. This thing barely fits in there. Maybe I should just build a new intake manifold. This one is kind of big and bulky. I honestly wasn't expecting it to fit, so now I'm kind of torn between building a new manifold or just reusing this one. It is a tight fit. I will have to make a plan with the brake lines and all that, but I guess that'll have to wait for the next video. We have successfully mounted the engine into the car and it fits. That was the main objective for this video. There's still a hell of a lot of work to do on this thing, but I am excited and I hope you guys are too. But anyway, I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching and stay awesome.